and welcome to the Publishing by the Numbers podcast. It is mid-May as we're recording, and at least here in Utah, it is finally warm and not yet quite hot. It's coming, but for the moment, it's actually fairly pleasant. I'm Jana Brown, and I'm here today with my two amazing co-hosts, Virginia Anderson. Hey, Virginia.
Hello.
And CJ Anaya.
Hey, guys. Good to be here.
Yeah, it's always exciting. I love getting together to have our little chats and to provide information and stuff for people. So this month we've been talking about some of the business aspects of publishing. How do you get reviews and, fun things like that. We're going to go into a lot more of them as we go on. But this is at least starting to scratch the surface and give you some actionable things to do as you're deciding, what books you're going to write and where you're going to place them. A lot of this stuff can be done kind of simultaneously so that your business itself is also in place. Because when we talk to you, we know that there are lots of people that write because it's a hobby and it's wonderful and that's great. But we also really know that a lot of us want to make a career out of it. And so we need these business parts to attach to it so that we can make the kind of money that we want, the kind of splash that we want, all those kind of neat things. So today we are going to go into the subject of nom de plumes, which I probably said wrong, and Virginia will fix it for me. But we're going to talk about pen names. We're going to talk about why we should have pen names, why we shouldn't have pen names, and all of those cool things. And we'll go right to Virginia and say, what is a pen name?
So pen name, also known as nom de plume, which is literally translated from French as name of feather. So feather as the old-fashioned way when you had the feather and the pen thing. So a pen name is a name that you use instead of your real name when you want to write something. So it's I'm not going to dive into yet the reason why we use pen name, but that's pretty much what it is. Instead of your real name, it's another name.
Right. So let's dive into the why then. So CJ, why don't you take one or two subjects, a couple of reasons why you might want to use a pen name instead of your own lovely name.
Okay. Well, just as an example, I'll tell you why I use a pen name and why I use different pen names. A lot of it has to do with branding. If you're writing in different genres, or if you're writing in different types of sub niches that would actually require a different name. And I say this because I write for teens and I write for adults. And so the subject matter is a little different. And especially for my steamy romances, that content level, the heat level, very different. And so And
it is steamy, y'all. The steam level is way over here. My daughter may not read these books until she is a lot older and I don't know about it.
You don't know about it.
I don't want to know.
We won't tell you at all. And so I can't very well, put my name or my brand on those two different types of series or those two different types of sub niches due to content level, because it would just be confusing. There are very specific reader expectations, audience expectations when it comes to heat levels. And so if I do a series where the heat level is really tame, and then I do another series under the same pen name where the heat level is really steamy, that's going to confuse people and I may lose readers. Now, some people don't consider that. Some folks don't jump across the board like that within a category. But since I do, I try to just separate age and content levels when it comes to my pen names. So I write under a couple of those. And then another reason why you might have a pen name is if you are trying for anonymity. So maybe you have certain stories, or, maybe you're sharing a memoir, or maybe you are talking about very interesting classified things, kind of like true crime stuff. Yeah, I mean, if you need to protect yourself and you don't want anybody to know who you are, then that anonymity is really important. And that also works for erotica. Actually, there are a lot of people who write erotica who do not want anyone knowing that they write erotica. And so they will absolutely use a pen name, and they will absolutely use some kind of avatar or logo instead of their actual picture. So those are a couple of reasons why you might consider a pen name, but there are some others. You want to take those?
I'm going to take the next two because I want to give Virginia the question after that. So another reason that you can do that you might want to use a pen name is if your own name is really difficult to spell. And I know that is kind of one of those, depending on where you are, you might not think your name is difficult to spell, but somebody else might. Generally, we kind of, because a lot of the book reading that happens is in English in an English market, an English speaking market. We tend to say if it's something that's going to be very, very hard for native English speakers to spell, you might want to consider changing that up. You might just change the spelling and your pen name is still your name, but it's a spelling where you might take some of the X's and Z's out of it or something that's going to be difficult to spell. So that can be a thing because you want findability. And if somebody can't figure out how to spell your pen name, how to spell your real name, they're not going to be able to find you. And as authors, we want to be found. That's one of the biggest things we fight is visibility so that people can find our books. So sometimes a spelling's a thing. On the other side, it's a very, very common name. So if it is, John Doe, if you are seriously one of the many, many, many John Smiths in the world, you're going to have problems again with that visibility. Because if somebody goes to Google and types in that one book by John Smith, they're going to get so many pages of other stuff before they find yours. Same kind of thing if somebody with your same name happens to be very famous. My husband, so we all occasionally do the vanity Google, where you go and you put your own name in a Google search just to see what comes up. And my name's uncommon enough that my stuff pops up pretty quickly. My husband's name happens to be the same name as a famous baseball player in Australia. So he gets all of these things for the baseball player, baseball. And then you'll get his little technical articles that he's online for. And they're like 5 or 6 pages down Google. This is that same kind of thing. If you share a name with somebody very famous or infamous, if you happen to share a name with a serial killer or something like that, you're going to have a hard time being found. So you want to think about that. Are these things going to make it hard for people to find you? Those are other good reasons to have a pen name. Which then leads me to my question for Virginia. So when should you stick with your own pen, your own name? When you just embrace it?
Just before moving on to that question, I just want to add, sometimes it's strategic to use a pen name because you want to change the sex of the name, So because if you're writing in some really male-dominated word, where, if your name it's like a female name, you might not be as well accepted as if it was as a male name. So it was very common previously, in the older time where, the Emily Bronte, that kind of period where it's just, unheard of that a woman can actually write like what. I remember the first time I learned that George Orwell is actually a woman. Oh my God. I was like, what? So not so much these days, but there's still some fields that are maybe more male dominated, that it's very conservative, then you might want to change the name for that reason. But anyway, so sorry, what was the question, Jenna?
So the question was, and actually we're going to talk a little bit later, guys. We're going to talk more about some of those issues with how to choose your pen name and crossing some of those borders. So hang on, because we'll get back to that. But so the question was, what are good reasons just to stick with your own name?
So I quite like sticking with my own name because it's just easier. I like to do things the easy way, not the hard way. So when you use your real name from a marketing point of view, it's just easier. I'm not saying that it's necessarily better, but from my own experience, I just find it's easier because you can use your real name to go on podcast, and especially for nonfiction books. For fiction, it's it's up to you. But and also for fiction, when you cannot own it up, like I couldn't own up that I had romance books. That's where I wanted to use like a pen name. But if you're very happy, like I'm in the process of getting some mystery thriller books out, and I'm just going to use my real name because it's what I enjoy. I have no shame talking about it, and it's just easier. So everything I can do under my real name, and I don't have to think about different pen names, marketing, and all those things. And actually, it's very possible that you have the same name, so the real name, for fiction and non-fiction. So I would have, Joanna Penn is a really good example. She writes fiction and she writes non-fiction, and they're all under Joanna Penn. I think she adds
She's got JF Penn is the one, and Joanna Penn. So that is still a pen name, and it's a way to do that is to, and we're going to just talk about that here in a second, but to shorten it down and use the initials.
So I think it's not, I don't have an issue with using my real name for fiction and non-fiction. But where I draw the line is like CJ said, when your target audience cannot be mixed together. So I'm not going to use the same name if I write erotica and children books. You can see that it just can't be put together. But other than that, and if I have no privacy issues, and I don't have an employer who tells me, no, you can't do this kind of topic, or you can't write on this topic, then I would just use my real name. It's just I think it's just easier.
So it can be easier. And also, as you pointed out, especially when you're doing nonfiction, very often we write nonfiction to go with other business dealings. So if you are a massage therapist and you're writing a book on relaxation and you're going to use that as part of your business, you want to make sure that branding is very consistent. So you want to say if it's, Jana's Massage Therapy, then this book should be by that same name. So especially in those kind of situations, you really want to think about making sure it's consistent, and very often using your real name is the way to get that, because we put our businesses very often under our own names. So there's some good reasons for it. Just for mine, I have 3 pen names, and my reasons are much like CJ's. I started actually with everything under one pen name. And if you talk to some folks, like Dean Wesley Smith is a big advocate of, you just put everything under one name and make the audience figure it out. And I started that way, just making the audience figure it out. But I got so many complaints that I could tell I was turning off my readers. And so, yes, you can argue that you should be the brand and you could just put anything under your name. But really, for me, it was the readers came back and said, yeah, we don't like this. We can tell what is what based on covers and that kind of thing. And we all love you, but I'd really like to be able to know if I'm getting this pen name, I'm getting fantasy and science fiction, those kind of things. Here I'm getting romance, and in the middle I'm getting nonfiction and cookbooks. So that's the reason I ended up splitting mine out. If you are going to go with a pen name, it is better to figure it out sooner rather than later, because having to rebrand all of your books and get new covers and change things sucks. So there's my thought on that. All right, let's go back to CJ for a minute here. So CJ, once you've decided, yes, I'm going to go with the whole pen name thing, how did you come up with your pen names? What are ways that people can come up with pen names? Because I hear people all the time go, I want a pen name, but who should I be?
Yes. Yeah. No. Well, you can play with your name a little bit, so it doesn't have to be the exact name. So I write under 2 names that are kind of similar, that employ my main name and also my married name. And so I did do it that way, but for my really steamy one, I didn't really want a pen name that was associated with my regular stuff. So I actually went, and did a name generator. So you can actually do, you can look online, like on baby book census stuff, you can get a list of like names in the 1950s or 40s if you want to go old school, or, it just really depends on the genre that you're writing in. But your name will matter, because just like the expectations within content of books is really important, readers do have certain expectations around the way a pen name looks and the way a pen name sounds. And so most people are going to look at my pen name for my sci-fi romances, and they're going to go, oh yeah, that's a sci-fi romance pen name for sure. If I were to use a very formal name like Richard Duncan for a sci-fi romance, no, that is not a sci-fi romance pen name, folks. But one way that you can then do that is do some Google searches. So I actually typed in pen names for sci-fi romance authors, and then I got name generators pulling up where I could pick and choose different things, move things around, and create some different options. You can use nicknames if you have them, use initials, as we've said before. Maybe you've got some old family names, some history there. And so maybe you could just go back through your family history if you got it and check out those names and see if you like them. And then there is the old, just think of something and then go search and see if it's there. Okay. But whatever you do, try to make sure that it fits the market that you're in. Make sure it sounds like a romance pen name if you're writing romance. Make sure it sounds like a crime thriller book if you're writing crime thriller. Okay, really try to make sure that your pen name is on brand and on point for the category, or sorry, for the niche market you're writing in. Okay.
Yep, and like we said before, you may also want to think about positioning. If you're in science fiction and fantasy, if you name yourself something that is similar to Brandon Sanderson, that also starts with an SA, where are your books going to be categorized if they were in a physical store? And if they have all the Brandon Sanderson books, then one little book by your name, will people even be able to find you? And a lot of us do our shopping digitally, but even so, you still want to think about that. If people just make a guess at your name, is it going to be confused with, again, somebody really famous? And will your books get buried under the algorithms thinking, oh, they obviously meant Brandon Sanderson, not you? So just think about those things. Okay, so Virginia, once you have come up with the pen name that you want to use, then what kinds of things do people need to check before they say, this is the new me?
Yeah, so I think it's really important that you check two things. One is whether this name is actually available as a domain name. So a domain name is www.jensmith.com or .au or .co.uk. Personally, I think the best one is still .com, just because it's the most common. And do check that before you go ahead and do the whole thing, everything, because not that you need a website straight away, but you want to be able to reserve it. And so in case if later you do want to have a website or just a simple one-page landing page kind of presence online, you can. The name is yours, it's available for you. You want to do that because CJ has not to do that, I think. I don't think she has. And then when we went to check her, pen name for the really steamy stuff, the good news is it's really on the point. It's really
it is very on brand, and I'm really
very on brand.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been proven because when we type in that name, it took us to the website of a high-end luxury escort girl, and
Boom
she
chicka bow wow.
I'm telling
Nice.
you, we're in the wrong industry because
yeah,
her hourly rate is impressive.
But the name is pretty spot on. It just happens that if you just type that pen name there, it takes them to that website. So CJ had to add the word author at the end in order to make it, like,
make it actually work. So that was, it was good to know that worked out. And, we checked it on Amazon as well to make sure there wasn't any other author using that name writing books, which worked out. But dang, that is an image that will not soon be erased from my memory.
So check if the domain name existed. Check on Amazon if there's an author that has the same name as you. And you just do a general Google search. And if there's other authors under that name, it will pop up. And then the other thing that it would be good to check is to check the trademark registrar. So trademark, there's a trademark office in every country, but because US is still the biggest marketplace that we're targeting, so just check the USPTO website. So the USPTO stands for United States Patent and Trademark Office. So the website to there is uspto.gov, I think. We'll put that in the show notes, but check there. And so a name is normally not you cannot trademark a author name normally unless the name has become a brand. For example, Harry Potter, that's a trademarked brand. So it's very likely that you're not going to find Jen Smith as a trademark name, but just double check. So check on Amazon, check on Google, check a domain name registrar. A domain name registrar can be GoDaddy, Namecheap, Bluehost,
Domain.com.
so yeah, domain.com. So just any of those, if there's like a centralized database where there's all the domain names that are there. So if you use any of those and check with the ending like .com, jensmith.com, and then see if it's available. In terms of the price, you are please, you can't spend a fortune on this. Like, please don't. It's just $15 max, $15, $20 max, and it's like a subscription, like yearly subscription. So you pay every year, and then it's yours for a year. And if you want to renew, you just renew the subscription. So I had this hobby, you guys know I have a lot of hobbies, right? Like very wonderful, weird hobbies. And one of them is I like to buy domain names. And it's not that I'm going to use them, but sometimes I feel like, oh, this is such a great catchy name. I'm going to see if it's available, and I'm going to buy it. And they're like usually $10, $15. And if I don't do anything with it, this is just $15. Instead of putting into 2 coffees, I'm putting in the domain name that would serve me later on. But if I don't want to use it, then it will just lapse at the end of the year. And but at least you know that if you do want to use that name, then you can.
Okay, I'm gonna take on the so in a thing to avoid, because Virginia kind of brought this up. There are pros and cons with choosing a pen name that is very far from who you are in real life. And we've talked about that. The classic one is men that use a female pen name so that they can write in someplace like romance, and a lot of women who across many, many, many years have used male pen names to be able to publish at all, or to be able to publish without stigma. So the gender lines do get crossed. However, in this day and age, because of the internet, even if you're really, really good at all your privacy things, if people get really curious, they will figure it out. It's amazing just how dogged people can be once they've got a mystery. Like Virginia says, mysteries are great. And once you get your teeth into it, people want to know. And so there are some things they'll accept, and there's some things that they won't. You have to be a little bit careful, because if I, as a, white Christian woman from the middle of the United States, decide that I am going to choose a pen name and I'm going to portray this as, say, a Black gay man from India, all things that are very, very far away from me, I'm asking for trouble. I'm asking for somebody to slap me down, because I am taking on traits and cultural identities and gender identities that are not my own. So you just have to think really hard about that. I'm not saying never cross those lines, because sometimes you have a really good reason to. Like you say, it can be harder to write with an obviously female pen name in something like high octane thrillers. Those do tend towards male names, but that might be a place that you want to go a little bit more androgynous and use initials or something like that. So you can make those choices. Just please be careful. I've seen a whole lot of authors who have chosen these very, very different identities, and they have played on the positives and the cultures around those. And then when they're found out, and they're almost always found out, that same group of people who loved them so much for being a representative are now pissed off because it's not a story that was written by somebody who represents them. It's written by somebody who's pretending to be somebody who represents them. So that is one thing we have to be careful with pen names, is that you can lead yourself into trouble. You also run into the issue of, if it is something very, very far away from yourself, and like Virginia said, then you get asked to come onto a podcast. And obviously your voice may not sound like a man's voice or like a woman's voice. Or if you're invited to a conference, here, come and be our keynote speaker. What are you going to do there? And when your pen name is fairly close to who you are, because I've had this, and I've sat at things and gone, and I just have 2 10s. Here is one me, and here is the other me. And nobody cares because it all connects to me. But when you make those choices to do a pen name that's further away from you, you do limit some of the marketing that you can do without having to come out and own that pen name. So things to think about. It's like there were some people who were really upset when they found out that J.K. Rowling was also Robert Galbraith. Some people just accepted it and rolled with it. A lot of people did, because she made a lot of money under that pen name. But there were others that felt very betrayed by the whole thing. So things to keep in mind.
Yeah, so
Now,
no, I do want to add that thing. This is come into the territory of cultural appropriation, right? So I think where the line is where you enter into the territory of deceit, and rather than just, I mean, at least for me, if you use a male name versus instead of your real gender, I'm going to say a lot of things that's going to be problematic. So I feel like I need to treat this very, very, say if your real name is Jen Smith and you want to do John Doe, right? So that's pretty vanilla. I think I'm not going to get in trouble with that. I personally don't really have an issue with that. But if, say, you are a white middle-aged man and you're portraying yourself as a young Asian woman, I will have an issue with that, because I will feel like I've been deceived. So so that's one thing. And the other thing is, when, especially for nonfiction, please, the fact that you call John Doe instead of Jen Smith, I don't care. But the fact that you are not a doctor and you say that you're a doctor, that I do care, because I would go buy your doctor based on your credentials. But again, so if you're lying to me about your credential, this is we're getting into the realm of misleading and misrepresentation. So that's a big no. So think about those kind of things when you choose a name.
Yep, she's totally right. And that can lead to lawsuits as well. Do not claim to be a doctor, a lawyer, any of these professions when you are not. Because if people take your advice as coming from somebody with those credentials and then they get hurt in any way, shape, or form, they're coming after you. So, we do love pen names, but there are a few things to really be aware of and to really think about before you dive too deep. So this is going to lead me to something that CJ brought up earlier about pictures. Because when we talk about our author names, we are often the back of a book have a author picture and a bio. So if you are writing under a pen name, Miss CJ, what do you use for that picture and for that bio? Do you just snap your own photo and roll with it?
Yeah, well, it really depends on whether you're comfortable with being the face of the pen name or the face of all of your pen names. And obviously that's really going to depend on your goals and what kind of pen name you chose. If you're going for anonymity and that is what you love, and you're like, I don't really want anyone to see me, then you can always do a logo of your company or a logo of your pen name. You can make something really cool from that. You can also use a stock image of a different person who you think kind of fits the style of that individual. But just remember, if you're planning on actually, going on podcasts or, you know, being out there in the public and you don't look anything like that image that you've put up there, that can be problematic. So logos are probably a better bet for you on that one. And then you can also, something that I did that was really fun for my my sci-fi romance pen name is I didn't do just an image of me. I took about 20 images of me, uploaded it to an AI generated avatar thing. And they, from all of that, they put a picture of me in there, created an avatar of me that I think really worked very well for sci-fi romance. And so I used that. So it looks a little like me, but it's not exactly me. And it's kind of like the goddess version of me, what I'd love to look like in the future. So it's fun. And I'm like, close enough. And so, you know, that was something that I was able to do. So just, again, it's the image you use has a lot to do with the type of pen name you have and the goals you have behind it. So just consider that moving forward.
Absolutely. A friend of ours uses what she calls the Lemony Snicket method, which is taking pictures in profile or from behind. So you get shadows, you get the suggestion of a figure, but you're not getting a lot of details. And one of my good friends, she has costumes for each of her different pen names. And so unless you put them together and you really, really know her, you wouldn't guess. But she had so much fun with that because she has a mystery pen name. So she did the trench coat and fedora, and it's kind of angled over her face and all mysterious looking. And then she has a medieval romance pen name. And so she did the floofy dress with her hair all up and this kind of little veil thing on. And then she's an editor, and for that she does her librarian look. So it's the glasses and the hair pinned up, and so that was kind of fun too because it's all her, and yet not. It's the her that is associated with each of these different genres, and so I thought that was kind of a clever, fun way to do it. Where she could still use her own stuff, but she was also taking it away. Gail Carriger writes Victorian Paranormals. Really, really fun books. And for her, she uses fans and teacups and things that are all from that Victorian age. And they always cover her from the nose down. So she's got these beautiful glasses and she'll be holding up a teacup or a fan or something like that. So again, you get this hint of who this person is, and it's genre appropriate, but it's not necessarily her full face at all times. It would not pass facial recognition software, but it's still kind of fun. So there's lots and lots of different things. So Virginia, what about a bio? Because if this pen name is you but not you, how do you write about your pen name self?
Okay, so again, no offense, but no one cares about you, really. You like, no one cares about me, and they only care what's in there for them. So if you write like, I think it's more relevant for non-fiction books. Maybe for fiction books, you can take more liberty in what you put in your bio. But I feel like for non-fiction book, for example, if I'm writing a book on, I don't know, history of, I don't know, no, let's say I'm writing a book on gardening, you know. So in my bio, I would use, if I don't have any gardening credentials, I don't know what they're called, but if I don't have a degree in gardening, I will use my real life experience, you know, like I've been gardening for 20 years, and, you know, this is the kind of thing that how I got started, that kind of thing. But I wouldn't talk about my political beliefs. I wouldn't talk about my, you know, I don't know, like how I like to go dress shopping. Like, it's just irrelevant. They don't care. They only care about what is relevant to this this category, this topic. And so, and you know, people's attention span really short. So you want to give them enough to keep them interested, but not so much that they're just like, I don't care. Yeah, because they don't care, like, really. So, and also like what we said, please don't put in there anything that's misleading. So no claim of being doctor, lawyer, or any of those accountant, or any of those profession if you're not. So if some of you are using, say, a ghostwriter to write those things, if the ghostwriter has those credentials but you don't, I would still be quite conservative and say I wouldn't put that in there because it's not you. It's not you. You have the ownership of the copyright ownership of this book, but it is not you. So I wouldn't go there. So just be extremely conservative. That would be my recommendation when you make, when you write your bio, and be close to the target audience and the topic that you chose to write on. I think fiction is a bit more flexible. I think I've seen many, I mean, even for some of my fiction stuff, I talk about my weird hobbies. Like, for example, I like to collect degrees. I like to collect domain names. It's okay. You can be more quirky, more just, free.
Absolutely. Well, and remember, bios don't have to be long. We talk to a lot of clients who will come in and say, but I need like a 3-page bio. It's like, why? No one's going to read that. Most of the time in the back of a book, it's 1 paragraph, 2 if you're really feeling it. But in general, you want them to be short. On social media, sometimes they won't allow bios that are more than 2 or 3 sentences. So you just want to kind of hit the things that are most important to connecting you to your genre and your readers. And that's really the whole point. And it's the point of the picture too, is that readers like feeling connected to their authors. And so they like the feeling that this is not something, we talk about AI a lot, and reasons I don't worry about being replaced by AI is because readers want to connect to me. They want to connect to a real person on the other side. So things like your picture and your bio and that kind of stuff is part of helping readers connect to you and feel like they've got that good connection, which helps them to then be really passionate about what you're creating. So Virginia's got it totally right. You want to pull out the parts of you that match your genre. And so, like, for example, my romance bio is all about things that I find romantic. So it says, I'm riding up here in the Rocky Mountains, and I find drinking cocoa in front of a hot fire a lot more romantic than shredding the slopes. I am not a skier. I used to be once upon a time, but now I am old and I will die. So I don't do that anymore. But to sit in the lodge, to drink hot chocolate and all those kinds of things, that's very romantic. And so I'll write about, this is things that I find very romantic. And pets are always fair game. People very often connect with animals. So if you say, and I always have lines in mind that talk about my 2 furry sidekicks, because I have a cat and a dog who like to come in and hang out with me while I'm writing. People connect to those kinds of things. Be very careful about deciding what you bring in as far as your family goes. It's up to you how much you want to share. But for example, I don't use the name of my children and my spouse and that kind of thing online because I'm protecting their privacy. So you have to decide what's appropriate for you. But again, you're just wanting to be personable. You're wanting to be a real person. All right, CJ, anything you want to add there?
No, I think you guys covered all of it. I just, most of the time clients come thinking that this needs to be perfect, that once it's up there, you never change it. Just keep it simple, and you can always go back and change it. I've changed my bio multiple times. And so don't worry about it. It will be fine. Promise.
Fantastic. All right. Well, I think that's where we will end our discussion of pen names for today. It will probably come back up again as we talk more about branding. Next time, we probably won't talk about, the details we got into this time, but we'll assume you know about pen names, and we'll move you right on into the next bits of branding. So we have come to the irrelevant moment. Virginie, what is irrelevant in your life at this moment?
It's tough to be me. It's really, really difficult. So I have all sort of dilemma in life. And I have this, and then I need our listeners' help. So, that I'm a bit OCD, and I don't want to dilute the importance, this real condition. So I'm just using OCD loosely, not in clinical sense, but it is getting a little bit worrying. So, I moved into this new house, and there's like a section where there's all those bookshelves, and then I'm filling out the books. You can see where I'm going, right? So I could place the books by color coding, or alphabetic order, or the height of the book. And oh my God, I cannot make my mind. it was really a life crisis that I had. Like for 45 minutes, I tried all sorts of different combinations. And I'm still not happy. So now what I settled on was alphabetic order, separate fiction from non-fiction, and then in alphabetic order. So now the book is like all in different heights and different thickness and different color, but at least it's in alphabetic order. And then I just to chuck in a little bit of additional complexity. Languages, there are 3 languages in this house that we have. So we have French, we have English, and we have Danish. What do I do about am I mixing them together? Am I separating them? So you can see how tough my life is, and I like some compassion and some empathy here. So
well, there were just so many options. I've now forgotten what the question was. I'm not sure.
Just empathize with her difficulties.
I feel for you. So much feeling is happening right now. Yes. And good luck.
Yeah.
Always.
What about you, Jenna?
My relevant moment today. So I have a cold. It's probably obvious. And if you're watching the recording, you've seen me reaching for the mute button over and over again so that I can cough my head off and turn bright red. Because that's what happens when I have a cold. Thank you, my dear starting daughter, because she goes to school and picks up everything and then she brings it home to me. So my dilemma, though, the thing that is bothering me is, who is the crazy person that designed the blister packages for cold medicine, and can I hit them with hard, heavy objects? Because I get it. They've designed this thing so that my children do not say, oh, look, bright, shiny pill, open it up and eat it. I get that. But I am sick and having the brain space to figure out how to fold and bend the thing on the little tab so that I can get it started, so that I can rip the thing open, so that I can have the medicine that I desperately need so I can sleep. I don't have that kind of brain power. And you rip it open finally, and these 2 little pills go fly. And now they're in my bathroom somewhere. Do I know where they are? No. I'm going to find out when the dog eats them, because I have no idea where the ones that I had to open at 3 o'clock in the night went. And it's not right. And people are like, well, take scissors in there. I'm not taking scissors into the bathroom. There's a high danger zone in there. So this is my thing, is that there has to be a way to have packaging that keeps my children safe and at the same time can be operated by somebody who has the brain fog of having their face full of gunk. And so that is my thing. I wish in the universe to not have to deal with these tiny little blister packages when I just want to sleep and to breathe. So there we go. All right, CJ, top that. Whew.
Okay. Hug life. And
I love it.
This maybe isn't as entertaining as most, but apparently my 2 daughters allowed Spike the luxury of sleeping in their bedroom last night. I'm still not sure if he had an accident in there yet. No one is forthcoming in this. No one is telling me, but usually we have the dogs in their kennels at night, but now within one night, he has now become spoiled. So he spent all morning scratching on their door, wanting to be let in while they were in there playing, because if he had been let in to snuggle all night long, then surely he should be let in to play, right? So trying to keep him in here with me was a struggle. And usually it's not, because he will always sit on my lap. Usually he will just barge his way onto my lap, land on the laptop, move the laptop away, and I've got to fumble for it before it lands on the ground. So he was doing none of that. So just scratching at it to the point where I had to put him in his kennel. And then, of course, I can hear him chewing on things. And I was pretty sure there was nothing in his kennel when I put him in his kennel. I was very, very sure. And when I looked in his kennel, he had somehow gotten a hold of my whisk, the whisk, and I didn't see it in there. It's like this dog is so smart, yet dumb, yet smart, that he actually hid dish items under his pillow in the kennel. And so I lifted up his kennel, and there was not only a whisk in there, there was a silver spoon, there was one of those butter knife things, and then a spatula. And I was like, under your, how? And I've been looking for those things, by the way. I just assumed they were accidentally thrown in the garbage, but he'd been hoarding dishware.
You have the weirdest dog.
Just do. So I got that out and then shut the door. And then, he just looked very sad after that, just so dejected, which is kind of his, that's his resting face, no matter how he always looks dejected, but more so than usual. And I was just like, okay, all right. How? I mean, none of these things were on the floor. I'm convinced that what he does is when the kids are opening the dishwasher, when we're like loading things in or unloading the dishwasher, I think he gets sneaky. I think he moves in ninja style. And I think he just reaches in and grabs things and then hurries and takes them to his kennel. That's all I can think. And that
next episode, it will be the pug making a cake in his
right.
With grasshopper guts.
Oh my word.
Oh no, not that
one. Grasshopper guts. I mean, what if he actually swallowed one of those whisk wires? That wouldn't have been fun to digest.
That would be bad.
So yeah, that's all.
Wow. Well, on that happy note, thanks everybody for joining us. Feel free to come and chat with us in the comments. We love to see when you've been here, and we do try to make sure that we jump back in and answer them. You can find the show and the show notes at www.elantumdigital.com and follow the podcast on YouTube or your favorite podcast distributor. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and leave us a review. We'll see y'all later. Bye-bye now.
Bye, guys.
Bye